Hello and welcome to the Fanatics of Film. My name is Ben, and I am here as a guest host on the Entertainment Hacker channel with my good friend John Paul Rye. Thanks so much for having me, my good sir. The Entertainment Hacker Studios there in Universal Studios, Hollywood. Appreciate you having me on, and appreciate all of you checking out this stupid video. Anyway, we're talking about our favorite characters, at least in the current Disney canon, at least as far as new characters in the sequel trilogy. If I was allowed to choose other characters that were new Disney characters, I would have to say, if Snoke is Plagueis, then I would have to say Plagueis. If we were allowed to choose other characters that were in the new sequel trilogy, of course, I would choose Luke Skywalker or fake Yoda. Being that is not the case, and of course, since we can't choose characters from Rogue One, I cannot choose Galen Erso or Krennic or Tarkin or any of these great people from this book, which was actually an amazing book, a prequel to Rogue One. Fantastic novel. If you have not checked it out, it is amazing. I loved it because I am biased and I love Jim Luceno. He is actually an amazing writer, and he also wrote the greatest Star Wars book of all time, Darth Plagueis. Without further ado, my favorite Star Wars character of the current canon in the sequel trilogy is Captain Phasma. Now, I know that most of you probably will disagree with me in the sense that she was completely wasted and destroyed and completely ridiculously wasted. And that's what many critics have said, and I completely agree with you. The films, they did not do her justice. But her characters in these extracurricular canon is actually pretty amazing. If you have not read any of these, I do encourage it. Some of the funny moments that you get to see, or at least that they kind of screwed up on, I really feel like that, of course, if they had a better plan in mind, that they could have done her justice and everybody else justice, as we all know. But they do. One of the things that they totally messed up on is kind of not even telling her how she gets out of the trash compactor, even though they had a beautiful chance to explain how she gets out of the trash compactor, but they don't even give that away in the comic, the Phasma comic that was released, which is actually pretty darn good, by the way. It's actually a really darn good comic. But anyway, so this book by Delilah Dawson is actually pretty darn good. It is kind of like a and this has been described many times, but it is literally like Mad Max, the movie Mad Max in the Star Wars universe. She is living on a post-apocalyptic world, a kind of an orphan. She's in a situation where she is actually just it's a tribal situation. It's a situation where they are in tribes, and like I said, it's post-apocalyptic. They have all these crazy things that they experience. You have to, the tribes that they live in these small areas, about just a few miles wide, not very wide, and the space that they have, they can't venture into these other areas because they literally have to, because the other tribe will kill them. You will die. You will be slaughtered if you are in their territory. So she grows up being in this small territory, in this very small area, for most of her life, and she just. It's absolutely ludicrous what the things that she has to go through. One of the very cool points, one of the very cool, interesting parts of why she wears the mask all the time is because that's a tribal thing. That's a big part of her character. In the tribes, they wear masks. That's a big indicative part of their character. What helps them to intimidate their nemesis. It helps them to intimidate anyone that would pose as a threat, that type of thing. So anyway, the things that she has to get involved in, Hux's ship ends up crash landing on her planet, and it's like, to them it's an alien species or whatever. So the point is that they don't really know at all what's the history of their own planet, because it's been in that situation for so long. Like, picture yourself in like The Walking Dead, but but you're born into this Walking Dead scenario. So you're born into this situation where it's already apocalyptic, and you're not even familiar with the civilized world. You're not even familiar with that civilized establishment and everything that happens there. So very interesting stuff. But anyway, the point is that they end up having to help Hux, and they go on this journey. It's a very anti-hero journey where they go through, and so in that sense, it's very much like Star Wars. It's almost like Lord of the Rings in the sense where they have to kind of traverse different areas and get from one place to the other, and they enter these different places like swamps and deserts and different places. They end up into and finding into this like facility that was an old Empire facility, and there's like technology there, and there's things there, and they find it's very, very dystopian sci-fi, almost like Logan's Run in that same sense. So anyway, I would recommend this book highly. It's a great story. The things that she does, the things that she goes through, the things that she ends up doing to like her best friend, spoiler alert, she ends up just basically leaving her to die. And it's just crazy stuff. She becomes the villain that we all wanted to see, the villain that we all really wanted to see in this in these Star Wars films. So I know it's actually ridiculous, but it's really true. She is my favorite character of the new sequel trilogy, and it's a darn shame that we didn't get what we wanted out of her. These books and the extracurricular canon is extraordinary. So what is your favorite Star Wars character of the sequel trilogy, of this new canon in just the sequel trilogy? I know it's difficult, it's a challenge. Back to you, John. Thanks for having me on.